Welcome back, dear viewers, and you are still watching Cairo Local Time. And in this segment of our program, we will talk about promoting tourism. It has gained further urgency in Egypt amid global challenges, and it is also one of the important sectors here in Egypt as it is a source of foreign currency. We'll try to know more about the government efforts to revive this important and vital sector. And we are joined over the phone by Dr. Youmna Salama. She is a tour guide and tourism expert. Good afternoon.
Hello.
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Mrs. Youmna, Egypt has been working to ensure the recovery of tourism industry, one of the country's leading economic sectors, after it was hit by a corona pandemic and Russia-Ukraine war. Can you tell us more about these efforts?
Well, we are still trying to do lots of efforts in the field of tourism in order to try to gain back our status in tourism in the region. We are not yet where we want to be. We are still working on it, but I think we have witnessed together in the past few months that the Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities enhanced the tourism of events and festivals and also concerts in many of the archaeological sites. That's a new trend in tourism that Egypt is starting to launch now, and we noticed that it has a really good impact on the tourism business. We had important fashion shows at the pyramids, Christian Dior. We had other ones at the temple of Queen Hatshepsut in the West Bank in Luxor. We had concerts at the Grand Egyptian Museum as well. And coming up also by the end of this month, more concerts. So we're using actually our historical touristic sites as venues for such events. And that focus and sheds light on Egypt in the international media. And this is one of the things that we're working on, as well as also developing many of the sites and building new roads and also working on facilities and providing the tourists with more facilities at the sites that they visit here in Egypt.
Yes, Mrs. Youmna, also Egypt targets more tourism investments in the fiscal year 2022-2023. How can we attract more investors to the tourism sector in the coming period?
Well, in my humble opinion, and also based on my experience on ground, we need to do more facilitation for the tourists. We need to have flexibility for some of our rules and routine processes, because that really is a kind of an obstacle for tourism. So we still have to work hard on that part to facilitate for tourist procedures, going through airports, getting out of the airports, also the queues and the lines at touristic sites. If we have more than one gate shall be opened, because sometimes we have a huge amount. In the past 2 weeks, we noticed actually that more than 6,000 people arriving at international airports in Egypt, all over Egypt, in one day. And Luxor as well. You can have international and domestic flights coming at the same time, and that takes time for the tourists to go out and in of airports. We need to work on that. We need to facilitate the areas where convoys, a large number of tourist buses moving together with police escorts. We need to have more of those cars with the escorts so people don't wait. You cannot make the tourists wait for half an hour in the bus for a convoy call. So we need to enhance that, to work on that, bring more facilities so the tourists will not waste time waiting. And apart from that, we are doing our best, but all the institutions, the governmental institutions, should cooperate together. not just the Ministry of Tourism on one side and Antiquities, but then we have Interior Affairs, we have the Police Tourism, we have many ministries that are actually working together for the sake of the tourists. It's not just one ministry or one organization. There is a group of ministries and group of organizations that are working, and they should be working together as a team for the sake of the tourism business. Because as you said at the early of this program, that it's one of the main incomes of Egypt for foreign currency. And we do seek that Egypt will be regaining its reputation again in the region, especially that nowadays we have also competition in the region from other countries who are actually also attracting tourists and different kinds of tourism.
Yes, also the Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities stressed in a statement that rumors concerning the existence of danger from rain falling on the statue of King Ramses II located inside the Great Hall of the Grand Egyptian Museum are not true, highlighting that Ramses II statue will never be affected by rainwaters and all the museum empty spaces are well preserved. Can you tell us more about the Grand Egyptian Museum and the preparations for its inauguration?
Okay, but first I would like to shed light on one important scientific fact. The statue of Ramses II and the two statues actually were already since thousands of years BC displayed outdoors.
Yes.
So when the ancient Egyptians made those statues, they were already prepared with this condition to receive sunlight and rain and dust and storm and all that. I'm not saying that they should be getting this or should be affected by such weather conditions or that we want to do that, but I'm just telling the people that they should actually relax and be sure that some rain or some water or a sandstorm will not harm the statue, because the statue already was standing in Memphis with another partner statue in outdoor area. So just like being in its natural environment. So that's one thing to consider. And of course, some rain or water will not harm the statue at all. This is one thing. Even if that happens accidentally or by any means, let us bring back the environment where the statue was originally displayed for thousands of years. That's one thing. The other thing, the Grand Egyptian Museum, as we all saw together, has been used for the past months as venue for special events and concerts, and already Egyptians and foreigners can visit now the atrium, the hanging obelisk at the museum. They can go through the shopping area and the restaurants area. So it's being prepared now to receive tourists, and that's very good because it's our trial visits and trial events before the grand opening. And that's how we are preparing for the opening, by making people getting in, by holding concerts and events. So when we go for the grand opening, when we go for it, then we know how it will be operated, how it will be run, and we have already done that several times before. So it's not just kept closed till the opening. No, it's open. Normal Egyptians can book a tour. On the website of the Grand Egyptian Museum, you can book a guided tour for this area, of course, because we are saving some of the highlights that will not be shown to the public at all till the moment of the opening, which is the collection of King Tut, when King Tutankhamun will be displayed for the first time in history complete. And that is something we are saving for the opening. The grand stairway, where you have the giant statues of the pharaohs, people can see it already from a distance today, but when the opening happens and takes place, people will be able to walk up the grand stairway and be close to those giant, great statues of ancient Egyptian kings and queens. And of course, the boats of Khufu, the two solar boats, are also ready to be shown at the opening, and this is some of the things at the museum that people are not going to be allowed to see it, even if they go on tours at the moment.
Yes, also Tourism and Antiquities Minister Ahmed Isa and Transport Minister Kamel Wazir held a meeting to follow up on the progress in implementing the strategy of promoting yacht tourism in Egypt and making sure that there are no hindrances facing it. How do you see the future of yacht tourism in Egypt?
Well, let me tell you something. Of course, Egypt is blessed by naval passes that nowhere else in the world. We have the Mediterranean Sea, we have the Red Sea, we have the Sinai with two gulfs, the Suez Gulf and Aqaba Gulf. We have the Suez Canal and we have the River Nile. So, of course, yacht tourism is something that we should be working on intensively, because there are countries in the region and out of the region don't have those water, don't have those seas, and they have more yacht tourism than Egypt. So it's quite a pity that because of hindrances, as you mentioned, or obstacles or routine or procedures, we don't get yacht tourism as it should be. So one of the things, as I mentioned, please, the flexibilities. Flexibility in routine, we need to work on this routine procedures. We need to have all the organizations and all the sectors working together. It's not like, of course, somebody asking to see your papers or your permission to be in Egyptian water, and then after a couple of hours, another person is asking for it, and then 3 more hours, and then the next day. This is not possible. This is difficult for the tourists, and it ruins the experience. So we need those organizations, those ministers or ministries working together in cooperation, again, for the sake of the tourists. You have to put the tourist as number one and secure this tourist, give him all the facilities they need, make the experience easy and pleasant, not difficult and routine, because that way they will never come again, and they won't spread the word of mouth. When people come into Egypt and things are nice and easy and they enjoy their time, they start to post on social media, they put posts, they encourage their friends and so on. But when they get a bad experience or difficult experience, they also spread a negative word of mouth, which we don't want. And tourism is an industry based on human to human or people to people. So it's all one circle, you know. Even me and you, if we travel to a country and we have a bad experience, you will tell your friends and your family. So see how many numbers you are affecting. That's the word of mouth. So it's very important to shed light on that, to work on that. Please, less routine, more flexibility. Ministers should be working together, and not each one is related to his area, and that's it.
Yes. And one final question, how do you see preparations for the summer seasons and reservations for this period?
The summer seasons and what?
And reservations, Arab reservations, especially for the coming period in summer.
Well, I can speak very well for the foreign sector and tell you that for foreigners, Europe and the United States of America, Egypt is booked till the end of 2024. That's based on personal experience, and this is the information I have. Regarding the Arab tourism, we know that the summertime is a promising time for Egypt, for Arab tourism, but also I do not want to forget and remind ourselves and remind the people who are working on the tourism business here in Egypt that we have competitors, new competitors in the region. So please, let's put that in consideration and try to attract more tourists by offering new kinds of tourism, by giving facilitation, by giving promotion for flight tickets, and so on.
Yes. Finally, I'd like to thank you, Dr. Youmna Salama, a tourism expert and tour guide. Thank you for being with us today. And by that, dear viewers, we come to the end of today's edition of Cairo Local Time. Dear viewers, thank you for being with us. I'm Sheena Adel signing off.